Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of Educator Innovation Week. My name is Jornea Armant. I'm head of Educator Innovation at Flipgrid, and I have my friend over here. Oh, Scott, you're muted.
Starting off the right way. It's 2021, right? We start off on mute. I'm Scott with Team Flipgrid, a community engagement manager.
Yes. And so, guys, this is definitely a great week of learning. We have learned so much throughout this entire week already about how to build inclusive classrooms, taking math and science to life, as well as English language learning. And tomorrow we have Ann Cosma facilitating a discussion all about creativity in the classroom. Now, we always get started at Flipgrid by sharing our mission, which is to empower every learner on the planet to share their voice and to respect the diverse voices of others. Because that way we build global empathy and truly learn and grow together. Now, this topic is near and dear to my heart as well as Scott's, because we were both coaches. And now, Scott, I don't know about you, but at first when I became a coach, I was a little intimidated, like, okay, how am I gonna know everything about all these different content areas? Did you feel the same way?
For sure. That and add technology on top of it.
And so it really isn't about the content, it's about how to access that content. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because we know media literacy is really that ability to assess, analyze, evaluate, create, and act on various forms of communication, all right? And we want our students to be able to understand how and why these messages and images are constructed and for what purposes, and we want them to be able to do the same. So we have some friends that we are going to introduce to you today. Our first friend we're gonna bring on is Alyson Carpenter. Hey, Alyson, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're muted, Alyson. All right, well, we'll check audio and we'll go to someone else. Let's say hi to Kristina. And guys, guess what? Today is Kristina's birthday.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Kristina.
How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role and why literacy is so important to you.
I'm Kristina Holzweiss. I work on Long Island, New York, and I was once a 7th grade English teacher. English was my favorite subject, and I was a traditional librarian for a time, and now I'm an ed tech librarian. And literacy is really important to me because my grandparents came, they were immigrants, and they came from Ukraine. And my grandfather only had a 4th grade education, and my grandmother never went to school. So school was really, really important. And I remember that bookmobile coming to our house, and my grandparents would, my grandfather would pick tomatoes from the garden. My grandmother would pick roses from her garden and give them to me to give to my librarian on the bookmobile. My grandparents couldn't read any of the books. They couldn't even speak English. They couldn't read English, but they knew how important language and literacy were to get our voices across. So that's why it's very, very important to me.
I love that personal story, Kristina. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to our friend all the way in Spain, Rosa Liarte.
Hello. Hey, Rosa. How are you?
We're great. How are you doing today?
Thank you to invite me here. I'm from Spain.
Yeah, please share a little bit about yourself and why literacy is so important to you.
Well, I'm a geography and history teacher. I live in Malaga, from the south of Spain. I work in a public school here, and I love to use the technology in the classroom. And today I will share a big project with you, and I hope that you like it. And of course, always using the technology.
Amazing, Rosa. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to our friend in the Atlanta, Georgia area, Coach Victor Hicks.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Victor?
I can't complain. I'm in my new school, new media center. So, exciting times.
Yeah, so please share with us your role and why literacy is so important to you.
Well, my name is Coach Victor Hicks. I am formerly a computer science teacher, now teaching media and computer science here in Atlanta, Georgia. And one thing why I feel that literacy, I guess why literacy is so important is being raised in a household where it just was always amplified, and the importance of having literacy as a topic was always big, coming from a family of educators. I think it kind of grew in importance to me as I started to as I became an educator myself and saw the just the level of empowerment that literacy gives students, whether it be looking at and analyzing material, but also in being able to express themselves. In computer science, a big part of it is being able to talk about collaborating around computing and really looking and digging into the why of why we do our projects and some of the skills that we ask the kids to be able to focus on and reflect so that they get the maximum benefit. So I think that literacy piece really helps and empowers students in that way. So, yeah.
Love it, Victor. Thank you so much. And I know you're going to add a little spiciness to this conversation, so I cannot wait for that. We met Victor, I think it was at a GAETC at a conference. So educators, the one thing about us at Flipgrid, we love for you to get connected and stay connected. So if you are interested, you can tweet along with us using the hashtag FlipGridForAll. And in addition to that, we actually have a tweet out right now where you can share how you use literacy in your classroom. And Scott, tell us what can happen if educators are actively participating in this conversation.
Well, rumor has it there might be a secret swag challenge going on with that tweet. So if you reply, there's a good chance you might win.
A secret, huh, Scott? You never really can keep secrets.
Not me.
So we are going to get this conversation started with our first question. And so our first question is all centered around the belief of literacy, because some people feel that because I'm a math teacher, because I'm a science teacher. Oh, we have our friend Alyson back. So we'll pause for a second and we'll have Alyson introduce herself to our audience. Welcome, Alyson.
Thank you. Let's try this again.
Yes, we can hear you.
Everything went down for just a second. I'm Alyson Carpenter. I am from Athens, Alabama, which is in the Huntsville area. I'm a recent education retiree, and I'm working as a consultant, but I also have been an instructional coach, a technology coach. I've worked at the district level, and I'm not sure if you talked about what literacy means to you all, but it's probably the most dear thing to my heart in education. And for me, it means freedom. The literate are free. So I'm so excited to be part of this conversation today.
Oh my gosh, that is a great way to set the stage. Literacy is freedom, because we know knowledge is power, right? And so thank you, Alyson, for kicking that off. So our first question is, do you believe all teachers teach literacy? Why or why not? Because sometimes in our schools, we feel like we're in these compartments where if I'm a math teacher, history teacher, science teacher, that I don't teach literacy. So I would love to hear your thoughts about this question.
I would love to throw this one to Victor, because I know that he works a lot with coding. So I'd like to hear how he thinks coding is related to literacy as well.
Well, I think for me, the literacy is important when we talk about computer science, because the why is really important. I think, when we're in the age of Hour of Code, which is, a great way to spark the interest. But as we look to really get kids thinking computationally and looking at computer science as a discipline, what they're creating is important. And I think that's one of the things why we know when we talk about the HBCU piece and the cultural piece that I make sure that we add in with science. The literacy piece helps them with the content, right? So the skill is the computer science, is the coding, how we put this video game together, how we code this website, how we, create this app. But I think when we talk about, making it about the Harlem Renaissance, when we talk about making it about, creating a historically Black college or university-based video games, we're talking about representation, which to me kind of completes the total package in computer science, especially when we talk about addressing the digital divide that many of our kids face. So I think, getting them, we really want them to start making meaningful connections and looking at, again, getting past the Hour of Code piece and really getting into computer science In order to keep that interest, you have to make it personal and make it reflect the populations, I think, that you're teaching. And so the literacy piece helps them with the research, because generally a big part before we even start coding is, okay, well, let's find out, if we're creating a video game about African-American superheroes, we go and we do an extensive research piece on the Yoruba traditions and where their gods and goddesses and how they influence mythology. So when students have those strong literacy skills, it really allows them to take those projects to the next level. So important piece.
Yeah, Victor, you know what? That made me think about a Minecraft experience called Good Trouble that our friends at Minecraft and our friend Natasha, Rachel, and Ken Shelton put together, where students
Shout out
can
to APS.
yes, learn about history, in these environments and build. So thank you so much for bringing that to life.
I would love to add to that, Jornea, just because, people, Huntsville, Alabama is such a technology, mecca, and computer science is, when people heard that I was going to be on this panel with Victor, I had some people who reached out to me and very, very jealously asked, because computer science is, I think we have to think about literacy as evolving. And I think in 2019 in Alabama, we had almost 4,500 jobs open for new jobs for computer science, and only 500 graduates. And so we really talked about the fact that is something that we have to make, thinking about back to that idea of freedom. Our children need to have access, and we need to be sure that we're thinking about literacy that broadly. But I love what he had to say as well.
Yes, definitely.
Rosa, as a history teacher, where does this fit in for you?
Well, why is he a history teacher not talking about literacy? I think directly or indirectly, yes. I use technology, and I think the technology is about increasing and improving the effectiveness of teachers, not about replacing them. For example, I teach Gothic art using Minecraft. Today, I think that we have technology that allow us to personalize the education, and it's so important. Learning must be knowledge that prepare for life, and we need teachers that teach literacy and coding and everything else that we need for our life.
Yeah, that's so cool. And honestly, this is a great transition for this next question. How can we use various forms of media with our scholars to help build a strong foundation? Since you all are already talking about that media. So Kristina, as that media specialist, why is this so important for us to help build those strong foundations for our students?
Well, I think I love the point about literacy being freedom, but actually for some people, literacy is a barrier. I've worked in my old school with some students who were SIFE students, with interrupted formal education, and they were English language learners. I had some kids come in and they were coding with the microbit, and next thing I know, they were doing a true and false game, and I looked over and they were writing the responses in Spanish. So I was really happy about that. But we really need to have more access for students. We need to have audiobooks and Chromebooks and immersive reader and all of these tools. Some people say, oh, they're, kids are cheating. No, they're using what they need. So we need to be mindful that literacy means not just reading with their eyes. It means listening, and it means speaking. So we need to give all forms for all different kinds of learners, our special education students, our English language learners, our kinesthetic learners, all of our learners. Literacy means the whole body experience, not just reading print.
And Kristina, I don't know if you saw, but there were claps going on behind the scenes because yes, we know to be able to access that. And literacy does not mean one form. I think that's what our first question really spoke to. Literacy can really be any way that we access information and knowledge, right? As well as share it. That could be through art, right? It could be through music. So there's really everyone is a literacy teacher. I think that's the point that we're driving home. So if anyone else would love to chime in about how can we use these various forms of media with scholars to build that strong foundation for the content that we teach?
I think she was, I definitely, it was so many points. It was like, I felt like she was speaking from my mind. But I think, one of the things that is great about the 21st century is that, oh, I'm sorry, that's our timer is going off. But anyway, one of the great parts about it is that, our kids have access to so many different tools, like she mentioned, with the immersive reader and all the different things. I think that now that fortunately technology has afforded us these opportunities, part of literacy is, again, if the tools are available, and hopefully, they don't go away, which I don't foresee that in the near future, is that allow those to become a part of our children's tool belt. There's now that we've, as society has progressed, as educational tools have progressed, we have great tools like Flipgrid. I think, with computer science, one of my biggest areas is kids collaborating and talking about their computing. So not only, why did we, build the code this way, not just building the code this way, but why we did it. And so when we talk about tools like Flipgrid, I think that was the definitely upswing of the pandemic teaching, or the pandemic learning, was kids who would never have thought to come out and have a conversation in front of their classmates standing in a traditional presentation type mode. When you have tools like Flipgrid at their disposal, they're now able, and we're able to communicate, which again is really sending the message home when we talk about computer science. We want them to be able to code, but once they can communicate and tell me why they're doing it, then we know they're in that deeper level of understanding and those transferable skills. So I think now that those tools are there, and it allows, like I said, all of those different learners and types of learners, it's amazing.
Yep,
so
we can't forget about the why, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't get lost in everything else. We have to have them discover that why and communicate that why. Thank you so much. Y'all are just blowing my mind today. I'm really enjoying this conversation. And I think Victor's lights out is a true testament that no matter how much somebody tries to dim your light, keep shining and sharing your knowledge. So I'll take that as a sign, Victor. Would anybody else like to chime in with that? Because I know my friend Alyson, I found this, y'all, from a very, very long time ago in 2017. And Alyson is a reader. And these are some books all about literacy in the classroom and making learning visible and making teaching visible. So Alyson, do you want to chime in a little bit with that?
I would love to. I'm going to go back to something that Victor said, though, that really kind of connects. I think we have to be willing to take the lead from students as well. We talk about we have to, utilize the tools that we have and make sure that we get those things in front of students. But what I'm seeing more and more lately is that idea and thinking about the idea of visible teaching. Is that sometimes the teacher can be someone besides that person who has the desk at the front of the room or wherever. And we don't always have to know about the tools that the students can use to share with us. We can let them be that person who guides and brings in the learning. So just because the teacher doesn't know the tool doesn't mean if a student can show their learning in that way that we shouldn't allow that. So I'm seeing a lot of teachers making shifts, which is great. So
I have to jump in because this really reminds me of when I was teaching 5th grade. One day my students discovered Microsoft's Immersive Reader, and they said, hey, this would be really fun if we got to proofread with it. Like, can we just pull up the text and let us listen to our own writing? And I said, sure, I don't know what it is, but teach me about it. And of course, it turns out to be the Immersive Reader in Microsoft, which is in Flipgrid. But you're right, they find the tools, they know how to use the tools, and if they're learning from it, that's awesome.
And when we do that, we empower our scholars, right, to be lead learners in their own spaces. And I love that because, some of the technologies I may not be familiar with. I mean, my daughters are on TikTok all the time. And when I go in there, I'm just like, oh, what do I do, right? They can teach us, and they can communicate in their beautiful ways. And if we accept that, then once again, that's a welcoming piece to include everyone in our classroom in a safe learning space. So we're going to go on to our next question. So Scott, if you want to kick us off to this one.
Sure. So we'd like to hear, what are some of the authentic projects that you've implemented or ideas you have for your students in putting into action what they've learned to make a difference in their class or their school or even the broader community? I think Rosa said she had an idea that she really
Yes.
wanted to share right at the beginning.
It's my turn. Well, on my opinion, only active learning makes competency learning possible. We have to give voice to our students. I have a big project that is a gender equality project that is called Women Deserve a Street. In Spanish is Merezco una calle. Gender inequality has been thought a reality for our society through the years. Nowadays, we can still observe sexism that is spread to different spheres of our culture. Students can actually witness this sexism in Google Maps. We make a big study just by clicking on their town and analyzing the names of the streets. An astonishing 80% of the street names were selected to honor men, and while only the 20% of are naming after a woman. This 20% of the names of women only was dedicated for virgins and saints. We don't have real women on the street names of our city. And history has shadowed women in invisibility and over the centuries, and it's our duty to make them visible again and shine. After the analysis was conducted, the results were shared with mayors of different towns, and to make this reality visible and known. After an investigation, the students go to the town council and was given a proposal to consider including more women's names in their streets. After having a success, we have opened 11 streets with woman names. And we have more than 100 teachers in Spain joining to this cause. And it's my intention to continue spreading this project internationally. Today, are teachers from France, England, and Czech Republic doing the project, and in Mexico too. Well, I think that sometimes people say that technology give us an apart from people, and I think that technology humanize our classroom, and we can make a big change in our city or in the world, and making a better world. And I think that we have to say always, woman deserve a street.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that. So starting off with a notice and a wonder, having students research and collect data, and then take
Yes.
those things to action. So social justice had been wrapped around Rosa's project from the beginning of it, and they made an impact in their community, changing these street names, but now taking it further. Rosa, I'm so glad to hear, because I want to say it was a couple years ago where I first learned about the project when we were at the BET conference together, and to hear that you are impacting so many other educators to take
Yes.
their students on this journey to learn about their own cities and make a change is incredible. So thank you so much for your inspiration.
Thank you. All the information of the project is in Spanish, but you have the website merezcounacalle.com, and you have all the information of them. And I hope in the future I put everything in English.
Yes, and Rosa, if you want to add in that website there, we'll pop it up on the screen for people to access. All right, anyone else? I know, Kristina, you do lots of authentic projects. I remember the slime project that you had a while back that I'll pop up on the screen for everyone to really see. But it was a charity pitch. So tell us a little bit about this, Kristina, and how this project came to life for you and your students.
Well, I like doing a lot of community service projects in our library. And so we had our slime, which stands for Students of Long Island Maker Expo. And it was like a maker fair. And I love Shark Tank, but I'm not really creative that way. And I wanted to have something like a science fair, engineering fair kind of thing. But I was like, I really want to make a difference. So we used Flipgrid, and I sent out the link to all the schools on Long Island where I work, and we had 86 entries, and the goal was each group of students or student needed to pitch their favorite charity and how you could help the charity without donating money. So I wanted kids to think about more like volunteer work, with spending time, things like that. And so we narrowed it down to the top 5. We had people vote through a Google, excuse me, through a Google form. And then they came to our event, to those top 5, and they pitched live, those groups. And our local library association donated $500, and we divvied it up amongst the 5 groups according to how they ranked. And everyone walked away with a check to donate to their favorite charity. And that was all through Flipgrid. And a lot of schools had never heard of Flipgrid before that. And I think that really made an impact on how they could share their voice in a way that was safe. And it really made a difference.
Awesome. I love that. Everybody can make an impact, right? We have to think about, don't think about the barriers. Don't think about what we can't do. We can always think out the box. That's why we're so innovative, right? Would anybody else like to chime in on an authentic project that you want to share with our viewers today?
Well, I'll go. One of the big things we do with my coding camps and with was one of our projects for 4th and 6th grade, kind of their capstone for computer science. We did students design their own HBCUs. So, that's one of the huge elements of my classroom. If you guys haven't seen, I'm wearing a Spelman College shirt today. So we really immerse students. I think it's important when we talk about addressing the digital divide and really giving not only saying we want to get African-American students, boys and girls, involved in computer science, but really showing them places where they can be successful and pursue careers. And just kind of so really making sure they not only have the skills, but they understand they are, meeting people that look like them, that are in STEM careers, and also being introduced to those schools that are specifically set aside or focus on them being successful, even in areas where they weren't, where we're not represented largely at the moment. But all that to say, we kind of go into our project, the kids research. Again, we talk a lot about the culture of HBCUs. What are some of the things that make them up? What, not only just physically, but as far as the environment of those schools. And then they go do a bit of research. They look at, go do some of the virtual college tours that were made available. So they can kind of see, hear from students on those campuses, interact, see the actual physical layout. That rolls into a 3D modeling unit, which we do some work with our math teachers, talking about measurement and building things to scale. And they actually create a 3D model campus of this HBCU that they would open. They do a part with Google Earth, which kind of ties into our social studies, where they research towns and cities that have particular significance in African-American history or cultural movements. Then there's actually the coding piece. So then they have to create a digital tour. And we talk about what are some of the things that when we market something. So when we're marketing a product, which in this case is your particular HBCU that you're creating, how do we appeal this to the masses? And kind of the big PBL questions is that the world needs more HBCUs. We need to increase the number. And also, and it's really taken on. I've taught the unit now about 4 times, and each time it's taken on a different face, depending on where the group of students I've taught it to, and also some of the other content areas or teachers that I've collaborated with. The constant, though, however, is Flipgrid. A lot of it, one of the things that students know I'm a stickler about, is that at each stage of the process that they can go into and reflect, whether it be more creatively, where they created commercials for their HBCUs and Flipgrid, but then sometimes it was just talking about the why. So we created this commercial, but let's talk about how you made your programs more efficient. When you had to collaborate on this project, what were some of the skills that you used to work with others? So I think, again, just making sure that communication piece and that reflection piece is interwoven through the project. But I've loved it. It's a really fun unit for the kids. So,
you are just so in my mind. So as Victor mentioned, communication and collaboration are so important to this growth. And if you're not familiar, ISTE has incredible standards where you can really dive deep into things that we would love for our students to be able to do so that they can be successful. And one of these is being a creative communicator. And so once again, it doesn't matter the platform the students use, let them choose. The beauty about Flipgrid is you can always App Smash and add all those things so everybody can see the various forms in one place. So as we're wrapping up, we're just going to have one last word. If somebody can give us a last word in a second, that would be incredible. So, hey, anybody could take it away. Birthday girl, I can see you thinking about something. Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted. We really need to, I think of Trevor Noah, and in his autobiography, he talks about speaking the same language as someone else. And again, it does not have to be a language as spoken, but it could be any form, the art, the body language, being respectful and understanding our differences, our different cultural differences, our different values, and being cognizant of that when we speak to others, and again, empowering students to share their voice, not only from speaking, but from all their modalities, because every child deserves to have their voice heard.
Absolutely. What a wonderful last word. And we will have these resources that Rosa shared, as well as Kristina shared, added to our description inside of YouTube. We also invite everyone to join us again tomorrow as we discuss empowering creativity in the classroom and beyond, facilitated by Ann Cosma. We have another incredible lineup. And then at the end of the month, we have a 24-hour PD Palooza going on. So we definitely want you to check that out, because we have so many people sharing their bright ideas. And so I'm just going to leave you with our mission once again, to empower every learner on the planet to share their voice and respect the diverse voice of others. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and go out and empower every voice.